Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions, to this holy light circle. I haven't really an idea of what's going to be talked about tonight at all. No idea. No planning, actually. Just to really this deep listening for all of us to listen so deeply to the divine light of being. We start in each light circle with the recognition of infinite light is all there is. It honors the light because there's an idea that there's something other than the light. The assumption is that there is something other than infinite light. It is infinite being. We know that the light's here and the light of divine being. So it feels helpful to just talk a bit about light circles and what we've been doing with the light circles. These are given by Jesus for deep looking, to start with infinite light first. The mind training is start with infinite light because we can, because we're infinite beings. Start with true identity. We're so used to that habit of identification. Not we consciousness, we as consciousness. And in the dreaming part of consciousness, there's an idea that there's a person for which that's actually experienced all that arises in consciousness. So this mind training that Jesus is offering through A Course in Miracles with many spiritual traditions, this is not the only means. Jesus is merely offering a fast means for those expressions of the divine, because everything is an expression of divine, that are in recognition that somehow this idea of dreaming is not really working so well. That they're looking for an alternative to pain and suffering. Is there an alternative? We're so wound down. The consciousness has played this game so long and tried to play it so well to hide from itself divine nature. As we've been saying lately, if we're honest about it, in honesty of God, and we look with the light doesn't know pain and suffering, infinite light. If we focus with infinite light, can we find pain and suffering? No. So Jesus says then there's a decision not to experience infinite light. And we have to recognize the infinite power we have to play the game in consciousness and also cease it. In other words, as we've been talking about today, we quit kicking our asses out of heaven ourselves. The only way to awaken is to see that there's no one doing anything to anyone, and that it's a decision to play in consciousness, in dreaming, that we're separate from our Creator. So Jesus, as the expression of divine light within, is offering a means through A Course in Miracles to the speed up to the recognition of divine light and honoring the divine light. So specifically what Jesus is offering is, again, start with the light, which you can practice in these light circles, participating in the light circles daily. For here, it's 2 light circles a day, looking at as the light of truth together and seeing that there is only light. And then asking Jesus specifically for every instance where there's the tiniest tension, we perceive the body, we see that there's a tremendous amount of tension in the body. That's misperception. When we look as the divine light, is there any tension in divine light? In honest, we call it honesty of God. Jesus calls it honesty of God in a new covenant, of course, ACIM. Honesty of God is to see that there's light and admit there's only light. Then admit the denials, the attempt to deny that the light is always here. And then cease to continue the denials. So every day in light circles, we look at the denials as given by Jesus. Denials around body identification, denials around specialness, denials around sexuality, food preferences, all the areas in which there's dreaming. And see that with the light of divine being, these are untrue. I think we might need to close this door from the, there must be some kind of ongoing celebration here. They're exploding fireworks. They love fireworks in San Juan. In all of Mexico, they love fireworks. Yeah, I think we might have to just close all the doors. I don't know how much is being picked up. So, yeah, someone emailed me and they were talking about an introductory course group. And Jesus is very, very clear. These light circles are for anyone. There's no requirement for anything, actually, because divine light just is. As I've said in some of the videos, in the video where I talked about joining in light, even my 7-year-old niece could recognize the light immediately and knew she was light. And she could also notice that if she placed any upset in the light, that and I've said this many times before, it melts trouble. So the idea, Jesus is really saying, look, the idea that we, cannot hear Jesus, not hear him immediately, is a denial of our divine light. It's a way to stay weak and strong. 2, that we can't recognize that we are light immediately. It's very strong on that point, that we can recognize immediately that we are infinite light beings. And that there really isn't a reason that we can't see it. And to focus on the light and just keep offering everything that is not infinite peace to the light. And these light circles are and then he also talks a lot about consistency, how it requires consistency, because the ego is a function of inconsistency. And we're used to engaging in the distractions of the world and not following what's most natural to us, the divine light of being, for expression of divinity. To invest in a world that is a denial of divinity. So the keys are to focus on the light first and ask for help. Ask him. And it is a denial of divine being to say that you can't hear him. It's a desire not to. And he's really clear on that point. We've made ourselves embarrassed by our own divine nature. In the light of infinite being, is there any embarrassment over Jesus? Any embarrassment over anything? Embarrassment is a desired experience to deny divinity. In the light of divine being, infinite being that's here, does the infinite recognize anything other than infinite? Does it even recognize that denials are real? Doesn't make denials real. So we call the light circles the guilt-free zone. The speed and the simplicity is really beyond the beyond, actually. Anything less than an immediate correction is a desire to keep personal identity. It's a desire to be less than infinite light, and for an experience of suffering and pain. And we can ask the divine light that, because the divine light is our identity, and it's first before all pain and suffering. And the light of divine being is a delay in acceptance, immediate correction. And correction, it means to see the light of truth, to see the idea of a person, personal identity, that something's actually happening in the light of truth, which is forgiveness. Does the light of infinite being that's here, infinite light, does it see the need even for forgiveness? Or for seeing desire in the light of the truth? Does it have to do anything to be what it is? I need do nothing. These light circles are a direct experience that I need do nothing. Yet, with the continued investment in contraction, or the experience of an experience that is not of divine nature, the dreaming of a dreamer separate from the Father, it is a helpful function to functioning within consciousness. It's a power. So there's all kinds of things happening of consciousness, and being a person is a pretend to be helpless part of consciousness. Pretend to be small, pretend to be helpless, pretend to have the world out of control, pretend to have the world do something to a me. And thus, because those are all desired experience, even though we pretend like we don't know, as powerful infinite beings, that we've chosen to play that game within consciousness of small, insignificant, the sufferer, the victim, and the victimizer, all those little roles within consciousness. It's a helpful, Jesus is offering helpful steps, because consciousness, the ego's used to steps, so he'll give steps. But yet, in the light of divine being, is there any step to the recognition of divinity, the light that's here? Yet, unless this infinite light is a consistent experience, the qualities of infinite light. What are the qualities of infinite light? By our direct experience here. In the light of infinite being is timelessness here. It's a light, no time. Does the light know change? Can it be found in the light of divine being? So we can take each one of these and ask Jesus, if we recognize that we're timeless, that light is timeless. This is what we just talk about. Christian mystics talk about timeless nature of being. Yet we can recognize it now. Jesus is saying now, now, now. Eckhart Tolle, now, now, now. Ajasanti, now, now, now. Muji, now, now, now. Jesus, now, now, now. So we see, yeah, why not today? I love that. Muji, why not today? Because there's a desire to experience not today. There is a desire to experience no to God, divine nature. There's a desire to say no to infinite being. And thus, through that desire, all of consciousness appears to try and demonstrate why, through a body, that what's experienced and happening here is something happening to individual bodies moving in consciousness, when they're all miscreations of consciousness. They're all expressions of consciousness. Consciousness is dreaming. Yeah, in the infinite light, does the infinite light even know what dreaming is? And hear the answer. As I said, my 7-year-old niece noticed infinite light. So what do you notice about it? All is forgiven. That was like a nanosecond recognition. All is forgiven. The whole course in one sentence. What do you see when you see the light? We see that all is forgiven. Then there's the contrast between infinite light, all that is, and the pretend that's not. The desire for an experience of what's not here. So it's beautiful. We can contemplate. This is contemplative prayer. We contemplate what's infinite. Contemplate what's already here. Go naked. This is going naked to God without any idea about anything. Yet at first, Jesus will say cleansing's necessary because we're so used to that investment in thought. And the definition of a person, ourselves as a person, separate as apart from the whole. That's why Jesus starts with forgiveness. It seems at first like you're forgiving your brother, forgiving other. Forgive them, Father, that they know not what they do. Because it's not understood if he said, forgive me, Father, I know not what I do. But Jesus knew that there is no one to forgive. Infinite light. He gives unified consciousness. As he said, last lesson on the cross, recognition beyond unified consciousness, unborn awareness. Pure unborn light, infinite light is all there is before consciousness. And consciousness is a thought. It's the Son of God is a thought. That devolves into the thought of a body that expresses out. That's an expression of divine being, expression of infinite love, the I am. So all the power is given. Jesus is starting, some spiritual traditions, they do it. It all paths lead to heaven for any dedicated being in consciousness, because we all have the light in us. There's no place else to go. There is no greater endeavor. There's no holier endeavor. The investment in infinite being, the recognition of divinity in this world. So Jesus's instructions are to start with the light of infinite being, which we can see immediately because we're infinite beings. The light is before all else. In the light of, and just ask, in the light of infinite being, is there anything else other than light? You can hear the answer. My 7-year-old niece could hear it. All is forgiven. She hadn't read the Course in Miracles. We already know this light. We're just been playing it, denying it. So we start with the light, and then whatever's not light, Jesus, show me the denials, which he's doing. He's taken many of the beliefs out of the Course into a new covenant, and then he's converted them to, here's your desired experience. You believe this? You believe this? That means you desire to experience that. You desire to experience yourself as a body. Thus, this is your experience. That's a good thing to check in on with the divine light. And is it true that there's a body? In the light of divine being, is there a body? The ego's also made God scary. In the light of divine being, is it scary to recognize divine light? So there's a desired, if fear appears, there's a desired experience below the level of awareness in the subconscious mind to have an experience of fear. It's the only way it can appear. So that's all. Jesus is the symbol of the divine light, the way in which light communicates into the dream. It doesn't agree with the dream. but it does provide guidance into the dream that says, wake up, because we called it. Because we, this as the expression of divine nature, of consciousness appearing as a dream, see that the dream is just not true and it's not natural. It does not serve divine being. Does the dream serve divine being in any way, shape, or form in the light of truth? Not the way as it's constructed by the idea of a personal identity. Then as each belief in subconscious desire, again, all of this is given in A Course in Miracles. Students of Advaita, different spiritual conditions say, yes, I see that I'm the light. Advaita is powerful because you're starting with the light of infinite being. Yet I don't understand, because these scenes keep rising up, because the direct desire for the belief not to be the light is still suppressed below the level of awareness. So light circles are a gentle, simple, powerful way for the desire to experience anything other than perfect peace. Happiness. Jesus is offering perfect health of the body. That's a powerful promise. As the desires are seen through, it can see that these are all desired experiences. And the peace and the power that is the expression of divinity, all elements, all aspects of consciousness, rather than fractionated consciousness that is blown out into all these pieces, unifies. Perception unifies, or isn't it other? Perceive others not, that's a play. It's an investment through desire to have an experience that there will be other. Without recognition of light, acceptance of light, and ceasing to deny the light is here through desire, that's the trick of the play in consciousness, to say no to divine being. Yet, even as divine being, infinite light, even if we say no a million times, let's say no a million times, and is the light still here? No, 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 no light. And look again. My 7-year-old, well, she's 9 now. She'd go dancing, you know, she knew she's the light. She talked about being the light. In the light of divine being, infinite being, and then all inquiry, that's what's so helpful. It's like everyone can talk to Jesus. Just talk to the light, ask the light what's true. This is what's so helpful in the light circles, because we ask the light and we can see so clearly, is there anything other than infinite being, and hear the voice come from inside and say. But that voice can inform every seeming decision there's a desire in the world to experience. And that voice that's so natural can inform everything. Not just, am I infinite? Is this choice, quote unquote, because we're so wound into the idea of choice. First of all, does infinite light know choice in our direct experience? Infinite light doesn't know what choice is. Yet in the world, the play within consciousness is choice to make an experience of two. So also what Jesus is offering for a speed up is to learn to listen to this, what's natural to us, which is divine light, and really listen. To have the light retranslate all the quote unquote choices that we think we're making into expression of divine being. Is this an expression of infinite being right now? Infinite light. Is the infinite light afraid of this? Is the infinite light concerned about this? No. Need we be concerned if the light, infinite light that's here, is not concerned about it? No. and to reacclimate, as Muji may call it, to formless being, but also by following only that light, the divine expression, because the ego is a desire for an experience within consciousness of limitation, and it's made to deny infinite light. And therefore, quote unquote, to make choices, to preserve a sense of separation. That's the whole plan. I'm going to make a decision to have an experience that proves separation. Yet when we really learn to tune in and listen to infinite light, which gets easier and easier through these light circles because you're learning to have that dialogue, it's surprising. Does infinite light need to have a dialogue? No. Consciousness does. The believer of the dream does. The believer in separation needs that conversation. To look outside of the idea of a person toward the infinite light within that's shared by all, and then follow that light and be assured that by the nature of its functioning, thought-based limited desire for limitation consciousness, the person is going to object to what the light says, because the function of a person is to say no to light, infinite being. The function of a personal identity is to say no to infinite, unchanging awareness. And so as soon as the light attempts to express, there's the objection to the expression of infinite light. And unless we're willing to bypass that choice, that play within consciousness, it'll be very hard for most beings to transcend. Jesus says you can't. It's a requirement to step outside the comfort zone, because the ego is a comfort zone. It's a comfort to be fine. It creates chaos, and then it says, no, you'll be comfortable with me, not with that divine light that you truly are. So in order to deconstruct all the ideas of personal identity, it's actually, I'm just here from Jesus, it's a must. You can wake up and see that you're divine light. That's really easy. Like my 7-year-old niece, and she knows she's light. But to cease to continue to play in consciousness is a limited organism, is an organism that suffers, an organism that it gets ill and feels subject to the world. The only way is following divine light, really, because it's natural. It's following what's most natural and denying what's unnatural, which is the idea of a personal identity. The other element that Jesus talks a lot about is joining in what's true, joining in truth, joining to see what's true with the brother, because the kingpin of thought-based consciousness and limited consciousness is to look upon a brother as an other. The brother other syndrome, the brother done me wrong syndrome. Yet in the light of the divine being, if we look, can we find a brother? It's the light of infinite being, no, an other doesn't know an other. So this is the means by which we can, our brother brings a gift to us where we believe there's an other. Even though I don't want it. It's like, I want you to go away. You're really irritating me today. They can go away, but the irritation will stay. You ever notice there's somebody that you're upset with? They're not even anywhere around. Where are they? Right? But the little pictures run in the mind. The little visuals run, the little sounds of their voice that irritate you, you know, all those little games, those are all games within, those are levels of dreaming. So we bring attraction to ourselves within consciousness, all the desired experience we want to experience. One of the desires experience of other is to have an enemy. And to fight an enemy. When it's like Pogo, you know, he has it right. I've looked within, how does that go with Pogo? And the enemy is us. Enemies within. In the light of divine being, can the light of divine being find an enemy? Light of divine being doesn't know what an enemy is. Therefore, we don't know what an enemy is. Does the light of divine being know about wars? Does it know about a problem in the world? Infinite, unchanging being. The only way out is to follow the light within and see that you are the light. And then ask Jesus, or really it's asking the part of our superconsciousness, the part that retains the memory of divine light, for assistance. Where all the, I call it, Jesus knows where all the bones are buried. So as appear, sickness appear, seems to be an appearance, any kind of unhappiness is an appearance, immediately ask Jesus, what are the conditions? Ask your higher self. You can call it higher self, you can call it Krishna. It's a call in your higher state of being, if you want to call it that, for assistance to see the denial, which is the desire for the experience of limitation in whatever's appearing in consciousness, whatever discomfort, dis-ease. Any discomfort, the slightest twitch, is a desire for a projection, to project outside of divine being. It's a desire for an experience of proof of separation. So this is really the power of the light circles, and why Jesus is saying this is very fast and simple and minimal kerfuffling, which the ego loves to do. It loves to kerfuffle and resist and deny and all the reasons why we're limited, unworthy. In this, you can look directly, just see, does the light of divine being even know what unworthiness is? Thus, there's a desire for an experience unworthiness. Jesus, show me the desire, the energetic investment in the experience of feeling unworthy. It's that simple. Then look at it with the light of being. I'm upset right now. This is honesty of God. Honesty of God. Honesty of God is, I'm not upset. I am desiring to boot my ass out of heaven right now. I have a desire right this moment to boot my ass right out of infinite light. Yet, even if we want to boot, and we can ask the infinite light, let's ask, in the light of divine being, is anger a desire to boot ourselves right out of infinite light? And hear the answer. It does. It has the same answer for everyone. It doesn't have a different one for different beings. It's the same answer. Anger is a desire to boot ourselves out of heaven. Frustration, boot out of heaven. Fear, boot out of heaven. Kick our ass. I just booted myself out of heaven. Call it what it is. If there's a genuine desire for the experience, for infinite peace and joy that is of divine light, see that the light's always here. Ask for assistance from the one who knows the infinite light within, who will tell you where is that a denial, Jesus? Yep. You can hear him tell you inside. That's the experience here. I can only report that. Okay, I place this in the light of infinite being. See how long it lasts in the light of infinite being. See if any anger can survive the light of infinite being. Like my niece, it was 30 seconds. Oh, it melts trouble. See how long you can be mad in the light of infinite being. We call it the infinite being handshake. Anger, infinite light. See if that'll last. See that'll last in the infinite light of divine being. And then you'll start to see that it's a desired experience. Oh, crap, I desired that. And we won't desire it anymore because we see we're doing it to ourselves. There's no other out there. Can the light of divine being, is it looking for someone who's going to attack it? Is it looking for someone who's going to tell it it's wrong? Is it looking for a way to suffer? Is it looking for a way to have a disease in a body and die? Is divine, infinite divine light looking for a way for us to have sadness? It just is. It's just infinite light. And this way, with Jesus, you start to see the power that you have in being. Dominion, not control, just dominion as an expression of divine being. That you're not subject to the world because you express the world. The world is an expression of divine being. It goes this way. There's always an assumption, oh, it comes this way. That's just figuratively. And the light of the divine being goes, there's no world whatsoever. An intermediate recognition that there's not a subject and an object. In the light of divine being, is there an object here? Is the light of divine being an object? Can an object be found in the light of divine being? Can any objects be found in the light of being? Jesus is promising perfect happiness, perfect peace, joy, gratitude. Today's lesson was gratitude, infinite gratitude. Does divine light know anything other than gratitude? We ask the divine light and hear the answer. Infinite light that's here. So the only way those things, we'll ask divine light so we can just know it. It's not because someone says it, because we know it. In the light of divine being, can any kind of sadness, fear, upset appear without a desire for the experience, to experience for it? And are these experiences dreaming? In the light of divine being, are these experiences a signal of dreaming and denying the light of divine being? I thank Jesus for these direct teachings, these ease of this pointing, the reminder to ask him for help, the reminder to join with a brother, the help that a brother always brings to show where there's a denial of totality. In praying, we've all prayed, give me a faster way, Jesus. Here it is, being delivered, silver platter, boom. Light circles, see that you're light. See that you're infinite light and that nothing stands before it. And I will show you all the places below your level of awareness, with willingness, where the love of God is denied. You have denied yourself all that's given by the Father. Yet, even if you want to play in the dream in the light of divine being, is it possible to deny the gifts of the Father? And hear the light's answer, no. Amen.